Hi, my name is Cabra, my pronoun is they, and today I want to try and make a demo video on how to cast circles. My goal for this video is to make you feel like you could do it, like you could try it, play around with it, experiment with it, find the way that works for you. My number one tip, don't be afraid to be silly. You will very likely feel silly doing any of these things. I did when I first started. That feeling is a good sign. Also, laughter is known to keep away unwanted energies, so lean into it. You don't need anything to cast a circle, except a space where you won't be interrupted. You can point with fingers, limbs, your breath, your mind will work in a pinch. But tools are fun, and they make things a lot easier. So let's go over some common tools you can use. Remember, what makes a tool good is not how fancy or expensive or difficult to obtain it is. It's how you treat it. Being intentional gives the tool its power, right? So keep your tools clean, store them in safe places. Don't use them for daily stuff. Like, use them, if it's a ritual tool, it gets used in ritual, right? For example, I have a ritual knife, which is a very common tool for casting circle. I don't use this in the kitchen. I don't use this to harvest herbs. The only thing I use it for is casting circle, and very rarely in protection spells. Some people have special ritual knives called athames or athames. How you pronounce it doesn't really matter. This is not an athame or an athame. It is just a ritual knife. As far as tools go for casting, the pros are that it does make a very decisive, right, sharp edge. It makes a very decisive container. The downside is that some energies and beings don't like iron, and so they won't work with you if you have one of these in your circle. So that's just a thing to keep in mind. One final note about the quality of tools before I move on to the other two that I have here. If you are the kind of person who prays, praying over a tool before you use it for the first time can continue to create that intentional relationship with the item, right? So then the second tool I want to go over is a wand. This is not what most wands look like. Most people's wands are, about yay long. They are made out of wood. You can pick up a stick and turn it into a wand. That's another fun video that I might make later. My wand is like this because I use it for outdoor ritual, and it also serves as a sacred fire tending stick, hence the burnt tip, right? So the wand and the athame are the two most traditional tools that are still in common use today to cast sacred space. The third thing I wanted to point out is a non-traditional tool that I have used to great effect, which is a paintbrush. As a person who paints, not professionally, just for fun, I find that the idea of painting the edge of the border really helps me visualize and shift my mind when I'm doing the tool. So this is just here as a reminder that you can use what works for you. I would say the pointing part is the most important part, and right after, not hurting yourself. I want to show 3 forms of casting today. The key is that while you engage in any form of casting, you want to visualize a bubble being built around you, all 3 dimensions. You also want to imagine that bubble being slightly outside of the space you're planning on working in, so that if you're working in a room, like many of us do, the bubble encompasses the whole room, so that no matter where you are in the room, even if I'm over there in that weird cranny by my closet, I'm still in the bubble. So for the traditional casting, I will ask the help of an element in each corner. Air is in the east, fire in the south, water in the west, earth in the north. There are a lot of ways to adapt these associations. Another popular newbie question, how do you find north? A couple different ways. If you have a compass, use that. That's great. I'm really good at reading maps, so what I like to do is to grab my phone, open Google Maps, and then see which road runs north-south, and then see what part of the building I'm in runs north-south and go that way. Sometimes the walls end up being the 4 directions. Sometimes the corners end up being closer to the 4 directions. My city is a strange shape, so for me it's the corners and not the walls. The other way you can do it is using the sun. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So either if you're a morning person, in the morning, see what direction-ish the sun is in, use that. If you're not a morning person, wait until the afternoon. 3 to 5 p.m. tends to be the best time throughout the course of the year, unless you're near the equator. And then you just go and you see, ah yes, the sun is setting this direction, that must be west. Cool, sweet. Close enough. The final thing you can do is use the magic of because I said so. You pick a corner and you're just like, that's east. And then what you do is you call that temple east, which sounds fancy and makes people think you know what you're doing when you don't. A deep, important form of magic. But yeah, so in worst case scenario, just pick a corner, declare it temple east, and so long as you're consistent every time you work in that room, it'll work just fine. So with that, let me actually demonstrate. Oh, last thing. You will see me seal each of the corners of the circle with a pentacle, right? So what I'm going to do is go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a circle. And that shape will help push up each of the corners that the bubble circle casting goes around. I have seen people use 6 or 7 pointed stars, so you can play with the symbol that you use as well as like how you associate the elements in corners. Actually, I could probably give a 20-minute talk on building your own circle because it's a fascinating and deep topic. But for the beginner stuff, there's a bunch of little tiny adjustments you can make that don't really mess with the fundamental structure of the circle. Let me stop yammering and show you what it looks like. Okay, east is that way, so that's where I'm gonna start. By the air that is her breath. By the fire of her bright spirit. By the waters of her living blood. By the earth that is her body. By all that is above us, and all that is below us. By the body of this which the circle is cast, we are now between the worlds, and what happens between the worlds changes all the worlds. So mote it be. The next casting I want to show is the simplified casting. The traditional or longer castings are good because it kind of teaches your lizard hindbrain when does ritual start, you know? It helps you kind of pull yourself into the mindset of, oh, it's imagination and sacred time, cool. Simplified castings are good because they are shorter. For this, I'm not only gonna just make it shorter, I'm also going to do it without leaving my chair. So this is a method that was taught to me by people with mobility issues, and works for them very well. By air, by fire, by water, by earth. By all that is above and all that is below, the circle is cast. The final method that I want to show today is called circumambulating, which is a fancy word that literally means walking in a circle, right? This is a really great method for large rooms and outdoor spaces because one or a few people can set up a circle that easily holds like 50 folks. No mess, no fuss, just takes a minute, right? It also works really good if you're just out working in a field. It also works really great if you actually have no idea where you are and cannot find north. So traditionally, when you do this, you go the direction the sun goes. So if you are in the northern hemisphere, which is the half of the planet where I am, you want to go east to south to west because that's the way the sun goes across the sky. This is clockwise. If you are in the southern hemisphere, right, you will go east to north to west because that's the way the sun goes if you are in the southern half of the globe. But yes, you want to go sunways in a circle 3 times. And in case I don't figure out how to put subtitles on this thing, the little couplet chant thing that you can use if you feel like using it, you can also just walk. The couplet is optional, is by 1, by 2, by power of 3, the circle is cast, so mote it be. By 1, by 2, by power of 3, the circle is cast, so mote it be. By 1, by 2, power of 3, the circle is cast, so mote it be. By 1, by 2, by power of 3, the circle is cast, so mote it be. By 1, by 2, by power of 3, the circle is cast, so mote it be. By 1, by 2, by power of 3, circle is cast, so mote it be. Okay, so those were 3 examples of casting. What do you do when you are done with your circle? Taking down a circle is way easier and shorter than putting it up. So let's just do it 1, 2, 3. Okay, so to take down the traditional casting, actually it's right here. Okay, so to take down the traditional casting, thanks, 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 thanks. We're done. The circle is open. The circle is open but unbroken. May the peace of the goddess be ever in our hearts. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. We're done. Okay, there you go. 3 ways to put the circle up, 3 ways to take it down. Once you find a method that works and repeat it, it'll start having like a slight hypnotic effect, right? Every single time you do the same thing over and over again, it like trains your body and your lizard hindbrain of like, oh, it's ritual time, sweet. And then the decast does the same thing. It will help you pop back out into like a more mundane mindset, right? Please remember 2 safety notes. It is always good to eat food, drink water, and or take a shower after a ritual to help pull us back into our bodies and help pull us back into mundane matters. Also, if you feel you're having mental health issues or an increase of mental health issues, regardless of whether or not it's related to your spiritual practice, please seek professional help. Professional counseling and therapists can be truly helpful. Make use of them if you can. Last note, the thing I really want to drill home, magic is not expensive. You don't have to buy a bunch of stuff. You don't have to read a bunch of dry old books. You do have to practice. This is a journey and a process that's going to take you years or decades. It's not going to just take a few weeks and then you're done. So practice, start small, don't overwhelm yourself. You got this. Go do some magic. Stay safe out there.